I certainly want to thank Mrs. Virginia Duff for that wonderful and complimentary introduction. And knowing her, she's never at a loss for words, and she can always make her expression so beautiful that one cannot help but be inspired by the spirit that she exhibits with regard to human rights. To Mrs. Carr, the president of this Montgomery Improvement Association, all the officers, members, friends, to the clergy, other participants on the program, those who came out in spite of the wonderful tree lighting of the mayor and the parade tonight, those who came from far and near. I certainly want to express my very, very sincere appreciation. It has been a great program so far. I'm sorry to say that I was a little late getting here. I hoped to be on time at the beginning of the program. But because of the festivities and the tree lighting downtown, we had to go several blocks out of the way to get here. And I was directing the motorcade. And of course, there was some times when I said turn left when they should have turned right and vice versa. So that's why I was a little late tonight. I could not be on time, and I regret that I missed a few numbers, but I'm very appreciative of the fact that I did get here in time to hear my dear friend of a long time, go back before our preteen days and schoolmates, Mrs. Johnny Carr, give the occasion. I thought of her from our childhood friendship and her ease of expression and her dedication to being herself a human being and being concerned with the human rights of others. And I also remembered the fact that I probably would not have ventured into an NAACP meeting had she not preceded me as secretary, and I saw the paper that mentioned her participation, and I felt certainly, since we were childhood friends, and even though after she married and we went our separate ways, it was our way of reuniting and becoming friends again. The seminar was most interesting and most informative, and I do hope that it will not end with just the short length of time each of the speakers were given to present their speeches on economics, politics, and the Black self-image, that we will continue to pursue and research and study and improve in every way we can our condition on each subject. Professor Yeki talked to me a few days ago in Detroit, and I think if he just had not been hurried away, he would have missed his plane to his other destination. Mr. Reed gave a very informative information about politics in Alabama, which I did not know about, but I was very happy to know that through the proper use of the ballot and registering and voting, that Alabama is outstanding with Black elected officials. And I only hope that what we may consider the reactionary administration, it will not discourage any of us from continuing to pursue the goal for full freedom. The young attorney Karen Daniel practically took my whole speech away about self-image, because it is true that not only that night, every day of my life, I felt that I was a person who wanted to respect myself, and I'm very pleased to see so many familiar faces. There are many new faces, but there are very good many old friends. Mr. Bray, who was such an eloquent speaker that I always, whenever he came on the scene and wanted to make some expressions or make a talk in our meeting, felt that with such a dynamic young man as he was at that time, and he still is a great speaker, that we could not but succeed. We had to succeed in pursuing the breaking down of the racial barriers, the legal and enforced racial segregation that was destroying us as a people. It was not only humiliating and intimidating, but it was actually taking our womanhood and manhood away from us day by day and bringing a hostility and an attitude among our young people that was just more than I could bear as I would listen to them and look at them as they grew up and saw the resentment that they had. And I suppose they had a lot of resentment towards those of us who considered ourselves leaders and having meetings and trying to bring about the end of the racial segregation, wherever it was, particularly at the time of the mid-1950s, following the Supreme Court decision in 1954 to end racial segregation in the public school. When the Supreme Court did hand down this favorable decision, I felt some hope for the youth, those existing at that time and those who still were to come on later, that they would have at last an opportunity to get the equal education of other people who did have the better facilities. And it was not a matter of a close physical association with whites, but it was a matter of having the same equal opportunity. And that meant you could not have it as long as there was complete separation and unequal opportunity. But of course, there were those forces who organized very quickly and with all their strength and determination to circumvent and deny this ruling of the Supreme Court of the United States. The White Citizen Council was organized, and the local elected officials, and everywhere there was opposition to what a very, very few of us was trying to do, to just be citizens, to have equal opportunity, to share in the responsibility of making our communities, our country, and our world a better place in which to live. After my arrest and after the people remained off the bus, I was always very proud of the fact that under the leadership of Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend C., who is still with us, Reverend Abernathy, and Mr. E.D. Nixon, of course, who was on hand to see that I was released from jail, and so many ministers and laymen, people of better means, and those who had very little, unified on this one purpose, that it attracted attention everywhere across the nation and beyond. While one of the previous speakers mentioned about some of the humorous things that were said, and we did have to have some humor, else I don't think we could have made it through as well as we did. It came to my mind, one little story, if I can relate it, because it was at the same time Arthurine Lucy was attempting to go to the University of Alabama, and one poor little woman was being persecuted and harassed and mistreated by many whites. And at the same time, we of course were working here in our protests against the bus and trying to hang on and become victorious in an effort not to ride the buses again until the changes that we had requested were granted. And someone is supposed to ask a question to compare the case of Arthurine Lucy with Montgomery. And it is said that the reply was that Arthurine Lucy was just one poor little black girl in the midst of a lot of hostility. But in Montgomery, Alabama, all of the niggers, excuse the expression, had gone crazy. So they thought everybody in Montgomery had gone crazy because everybody had a nerve and courage and dedication enough not ride the buses, regardless to what pressure was put upon us. So that again will tell you what unity, what dedication, and what determination can do. And that is all that it was. People had just become worn out with being humiliated and being persecuted and being oppressed, and accepting without complaint the racial segregation and that seemed to have not been improving becoming worse each day. Several times today, I've had so many questions put at me and so many interviews that I didn't know what word to speak next. Several times, some of the media people would ask, well, why did you do it? As though it was something that, well, why should you do this? Or why should you refuse to stand up? I felt that as a person, if I did not want to be mistreated, there was no way I would ever stop being mistreated if I accepted it continuously. Again, I want to express my very, very sincere appreciation for this beautiful program tonight and all of the friends who've gathered and what you mean to me just to look on your faces again. I want to thank so many people. I don't know how to begin or where to. I want to say that in the audience tonight, there are some people who came from as far away as Ozark, Alabama. One is my aunt, my father's youngest sister, who's been very close to me, and I don't see her that much, but I appreciate her being here. She says that, I don't know how many years ago, I guess about 30 or more years ago, long before I was arrested on the bus, that she was traveling either to or from New Jersey, where she made a home several years, and she all but took a Greyhound bus driver off the bus because he was trying to make her move her small grandchildren off of a seat, and she stayed where she was. The children remained where they were, and they traveled on to the side. That was Mrs. Wall you could see right there. And she told me about it, and she's had her battles too. She may have taken care of them a little bit differently than what I would have done or was able to do, but she has stood her ground when she had to. Mr. and Mrs. Crenshaw, her friend, and Mrs. Bick are very dear friends of mine from Ozark. They all came from there to tonight just to be here to this program. My very good friend, Mrs. Louise Taps, who came with me from Detroit, without who I probably would not have been here because she takes care of my schedule. She bears the brunt of many things to shield me from some of the things that I have to endure if I was trying to travel alone.
To you, Rosa, for your courageous stand that you made on this 25th anniversary of the movement, I would like to make this presentation. For the personal courage exhibited that sparked a fateful event in the life of Black people of America in particular, and in the life of this nation in general. Presented to Mrs. Rosa Parks by the Montgomery Improvement Association on the occasion of the silver anniversary of the Montgomery bus boycott, December 1, 1980. We realize that her walls are covered with plaques and she has many certificates and all kind of honors and everything. You can't eat plaques. You can only look at them. So we decided, Mrs. Park, that we wanted you to have something else with love from our organization that will help you to do some other things in life other than look at this plaque. So we present to you this night this small token of appreciation for our love to you and for your great courage that you have presented in this community. Thank you.
Encourage this and make the best use of the financial donation that I possibly can. It's not a small donation, it's quite generous, but I want to say that I am very, very appreciative of generosity, and I cherish this, and I accept it with all gratefulness and humility, and in behalf of all of you who are here, and many who have passed away and not able to be with us tonight, and many who were in the struggle and who are unnamed and unknown. I want to say again, thank you very much. God bless you. That makes the rest of the night I've had a long, hard day. From some hunger pains right now.
Boom shot.
Oh, really?
That's the reason I couldn't speak any better.
Thank you.
But I felt like I was doing.
Well, you did good.
Oh, you did an excellent job.
Hi, Rosa. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I haven't looked around.
I know it. That's why I told you. I knew you didn't.
Put this in your pocket.
Let me. I'll put it in there for.
Okay, you can just
I will get with
put
you.
it.
You guys have something nice. His mother wants so much to see.
Yes, I'd like to see her. Now, did your aunt room 114?
Okay. All right.
I would probably. I had planned to stay with my cousin tonight, but she sent me word that she took ill and couldn't come to the program. You remember Ruth Craig? You remember Winston Craig? Where his instead of your name, just say friend. Is that all right? Oh, there you are.